Hey everyone, it is Juice here. Imaginarium Theater's first season is going to consist of Pyro, Electro, and Anemo characters, and while I've already posted a general overview on who's getting more value with this new game mode, I thought it'd be useful to provide you all with the strongest potential teams to clear this upcoming season of Imaginarium Theater. Remember that if you're missing a few characters here, you'll be able to borrow one from your friends or from the trials. I'm going to be considering principal, alternate, and supporting cast members with a brief section at the end for special guest star teams. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. According to the HoYoLab post, these are the characters that we will confirmably have access to, but I will run over every possible character anyways, just in case, with the main focus on the characters that we will 100% be using, while still including other Pyros, Electros, and Anemos that have not been presented here in this HoYoLab post. I'd immediately like to start off with Lyney Mono Pyro, who I think is going to be a very good contender for this season. Not only is he one of the strongest single-target Pyro DPSs, he's very well suited to Mono, so his restrictiveness of Imaginarium Theater does not gimp him. You'll be able to play one of his best teams with Lyney, Bennett, Xiangling, and Kazuha, and even if you don't have him, you can pick him up from a friend. I do definitely recommend trying him since he does shine quite well within Mono Pyro. Arlecchino will actually be an opening cast member, so everybody will have a chance to trial her. She can also work in place of Lyney within Mono Pyro, and her nice benefit is that she's better in AoE, and may arguably work better here considering that Imaginarium Theater is more of an AoE focused game mode. She can also work in overload teams, meaning that you will have access to two different strong types of Arlecchino teams, which is going to be very nice for your flexibility. Speaking of overload, Raiden Hyper Overload will be a viable choice. Chevreuse will be quite the valid pick this Imaginarium round, considering that Pyro and Electro are within the same season, plus it also saves Kazuha for your other teams, say a Mono team where he's utilized better. So all overload teams in general will be quite nice. It's also cool that you can use Kujo-Sara with Raiden, but if you prefer, you can swap her out for Fischl. However, you can also opt for Clorinde Overload as well. Something like Clorinde, Kujo-Sara, Chevreuse, and Xiangling would work well, to name an example. You could even swap out Kujo-Sara for Beidou within AoE scenarios. Traditional Raiden Hyper can be played as well if you're looking to save your Chevreuse for another unit. So you could have Raiden, Sara, Bennett, and Kazuha, and then Clorinde, Chevreuse, Fischl, Xiangling, which is a very comfy unit split. Although Yuemiya and Hu Tao are available this round, I would neglect them. They aren't as good as the previously listed units with Overload. Even the supporting cast can't help them out that much. Thoma can work with Clorinde, I suppose, but outside of that, his only other use will be his C6 for Hu Tao if you do choose to play her anyway. Xiao and Wanderer will allow for Anemo DPS teams to be played. For example, Wanderer, Faruzan, Jean, and Bennett. Or if you want to play Xiao, then you could go for Xiao, Faruzan, Xian, Yun, and Bennett. This is my personal preference, I'll say that. Xian Yun's presence also allows for plunge playstyles to be enabled. That'll be pretty nice for Diluc and Gaming, though much like Hu Tao, who can also plunge with Xian Yun as well, Mono Pyro isn't a great setup for these guys, but it can. Shinobu will sadly not have a huge amount of use, as she's not great for a non-Dendro Theater round. Dia will be a fine enough defensive character if you're in need. In fact, she'll be able to work in Mono Pyro. Here's an example team where she'd be pretty okay. Since Yanfei is Pyro, if you want to Pyro shield her because of skill issue, hey, which is fine, we've all been there, then you can build her on triple HP and bring her right along. I will say that that is one of the benefits of bringing your own units to Imaginarium Theater as opposed to solely relying on the trials. You have to use Hoyoverse's builds, whereas with your own characters, you can create your own unique creative setups. Note that Klee can also replace Lyney as a Mono Pyro unit, and that before Verena came out, Mono Pyro was actually Klee's best team, especially because she was such a good Pyro battery for the likes of Xiangling and Bennett because of the sheer amount of Pyro she deals with. Other Electros include Setos, Keqing, Yai, Dori, and Lisa. Let me know if I missed any. Tech W I'd skip out on using, same for Setos as he enjoys Dendro teams. That goes for Lisa as well. Sadly, there's a bit of a trend here. They're mostly Dendro reliant. As for Anemo units, the featured ones that Hoyo have promoted here are looking pretty good. Kazuha, Xian, Yun, and Jean. I personally would pair Jean with the Anemo DPSs, or with Bennett for Sunfire. Kazuha should be paired with the mono units such as Lyney, and Xian Yun ideally with Xiao, otherwise with Gaming and Diluc. You can also do silly Arlecchino plunge stuff if you want to get wacky. It is a random option if you want to give it a go. Venti, my beloved, can work with Lyney. Yeah, it's a bit cope, but it does work. And who wouldn't want to play double femboy? Also, Raiden's initial slash can hit within Venti's burst, same for her charged attacks, so if you want to save your other Anemos, know that Venti is a viable option. And considering that Lynette is free and everyone has her, I think it's worth me mentioning that yeah, she's free, she's viable, she will work in most of these teams quite nicely. We'll be getting some special guest stars too. According to this HoYoLab post, we're gonna get Rio, Baiju, Alhaitham, and Sigewinne. It's gonna be nice to trial Sigewinne more thoroughly for people who are on the fence about her, such as myself. With Rio, you can consider a melt team of himself, Bennett, Xiangling, and Kazuha, or even Sucrose for the EM share. Other than that, since Farina isn't available, sadly he doesn't have access to his best-in-slot team, so he'll be a bit scuffed to run. Either way, you can use him though. Alhaitham is quite a nice special guest member to have here. You can run him with Vishal and Yai to form a cool spread team. Outside of that, don't bother with Burning, we'll have to wait for Emily if we want to deal in that. And Baiji opens up Aggravate as an option, which is really nice, since this puts all those characters that I mentioned earlier, such as Keqing and Yai, back on the cards, and also allows Clorinde to play her best-in-slot team if you're interested. So the core of an Electro DPS, Fischl, Baiju, and either Kazuha or Sucrose, or even Lynette, will be a cool and valid option thanks to him. What I will say about guest star Baiju is that since Clorinde has other teams, such as Overload, I would recommend running him with the units that are more dependent on him, such as Yai Miko, such as Keqing, and then that's going to really help you with your unit efficiency, and then that way you can more comfortably split out your 3 teams. That way you can have your Anemo DPSs, then you can have your comfortable Electro DPSs, then your Pyro DPSs, and you should be able to cover all Imaginarium grounds quite nicely. Now, Sigewinne is an interesting one since she prefers to on-field, so you could run Sigewinne National with double Pyro and an Anemo. I believe that Sigewinne will be able to hit within Venti's burst since she raises herself up a little. I'm not sure if she's going to be worth running with the likes of Xiao due to the fact that she enjoys field time and has some personal DPS contribution. Overall, she'll be nice for some silly vape teams. You could even consider a Taser team with Sigewinne, Fischl, Beidou, and an Anemo. Do note that whenever it comes to Sigewinne, any teams where Kokomi is good, Sigewinne will most likely be good as well, considering that she is essentially a side grade to Kokomi. You have team suggestions for this upcoming season of Imaginarium Theater based on what we'll have available to us. If you have more fun team ideas, let me know down below in the comment section, and remember to join my Discord so we can discuss this more. I'm really curious to see how this game mode will play out. I myself am interested in seeing how good or bad the trial characters are going to be. Hopefully this video was able to help you think of teams to use for this upcoming Imaginarium Theater season. This has been Juice, signing out, and my god, Hoyoverse, I really hope you've learned how to build your own characters. Now bless Eula, anyone.